Guys, welcome back to Danny Rants. Today I have sitting in front of me, you're not seeing double, the twins, the Luba twins. They are festival entrepreneurs, they're also venue owners, and they're also been festival promoters. So we're gonna get stuck into it today, but before I give you guys the biggest wrap up possible, I'd love for you guys to explain just a little overview of what you guys do.
You want to hit it off?
Festival owners, promoters, venue owners, pretty much anything, events end to end, production guys, operations guys.
What's the term? It's master of all trades, jack of none. What is it? You know the
Yeah,
saying for it?
actually, someone referred to me recently as the Swiss Army knife of festivals. So
I
There you
rate
go.
that.
I don't
That's
know.
There you go.
I
Yeah.
heard that term. I'm like, what? I'm like, okay, cool, interesting.
A little bit of everything.
Like if I had to explain to you guys, I reckon Swiss Army knives of music industry is a pretty good fucking term.
Yeah. We've kind of been around it all, seen it. I mean, we stretched back maybe like 15, 18 years or so. So I guess, started back end of festivals, running other people's festivals, all the, the Buschdorfs from...
How did you, so this is something I actually don't know. So like I've obviously worked near you guys or alongside you guys. We've bumped into each other throughout the last 15 years. How did you start? Because like normally people start as promoters. You guys didn't. You guys started as festival owners, then turned into promoters, then turned into event. You sort of did it the other way around.
Yeah. So I think we started off at quite a young age, in technical production, and then it kind of let on to working on festivals. When we were 17 years old, and then
How?
Because we started quite young, we had a really good understanding of learning the industry, learning all the sort of technical know-how, and we put ourselves in front of different opportunities, or we pushed ourselves into opportunities where we got experience at a really young age.
Yep.
To be able to work on some festivals. Like one of the first festivals we did was Sensation Melbourne 2008. I was 17 years old.
White parties.
Exactly, 40,000 people on New Year's Eve at
Telstra Dome or whatever it was, Colonial Stadium.
No, it was Telstra Dome. Yeah.
Telstra Dome, yeah.
Changed a million times since then. I think it's called something else now. Marvel Stadium.
Marvel
Yeah.
Stadium.
Yeah, that's one.
Yeah.
So Grant Smiley, who else was
Fedde
Fedde
Legrand.
Legrand, like back
remember
when,
that.
like just before the boom of
But that was like
EDM.
That was like it was a big company from the Netherlands, right?
Correct.
It was
IDT.
Yeah.
And how did you get into that?
Oh, that's actually a funny story in itself. I found out I was 17, about to sit my VCE exams, and I saw a promo video of Sensation coming to Australia, and I'm really young and gung ho at the time of like really wanting to get involved. I basically tried to find out who owns this festival. Being young and naive, I'm like started Googling it, found out it's owned by a company called IDT. I tried to look up who the owners are, hit up the owner Duncan on
Facebook, was it?
Facebook,
Yeah.
and never responded. So actually looked at his profile, found his wife, messaged his wife on Facebook, a list of like my experience and what I do. And she actually responded and put me in touch with the local producer for the IDT Sensation show and said, he'd be interested in having a meeting. And he actually flew down to Melbourne, had a meeting with me at the Sensation office, had a full job interview, and actually resonated with my experience and upbringing and said, you know what, I'm going to give you this opportunity, come on doing assisting in the site operations part of Sensation. And so they, gave me hotel rooms and I worked on the show for 5 days. And it was my first time driving a golf cart, didn't even have a driver's license. Working with big labour teams of up to 30, 40 people, putting in these big structures into the stadium. And then after that, the producer actually, who does a lot of big festivals, brought us on to do other shows like the MTV Music Awards in Sydney.
Really?
Yeah.
That wasn't IDT.
No,
that
was. So he's a local producer.
because IDT at the time, to correct me if I'm wrong, was one of, if not second biggest, festival company in the world at the time.
Dominating Europe, and also just because of their massive touring festivals they did like 50 shows of Sensation. So they were really, really big, and that kind of gave us a insight into like the Dutch side of. They're kind of the leaders in festival production and getting to work with them.
So that's the way Tomorrowland obviously is, which is arguably the most famous festival for that. But yeah, you're right.
Exactly right. So that's kind of all where it ended up, I think.
I think, look, how good I say is just volunteering.
Yeah.
You just hit up people and work for free. And at a young age, they're like, yeah, we'll take extra labor for free, and you prove your worth, and you kind of build networks. It's literally all about building networks and just speaking to the right people, being at the right place at the right time, and asking for opportunity. And
I actually love that. Like, that's such a good story. Like, I've had people hit me up and I'll let them come in. But a lot of the time, they're not that impressive at the start. But in saying that, every single person that works for me, no one's done university, no one's done any form of TAFE course. It's legitimately, I gave them an opportunity, they rose to the occasion, and then I've continued to help them grow because they continue to want to learn. And from there, it's like, I feel like you guys will be the same, but not many people we work with are industry trained. Like they're traditionally, they're go-getters. Like that's what they are.
And that's what it's all about. And like in this day and age, we're like fortunate enough to like speak to young, people who are looking to be in the industry. And we both didn't go through university, but rather went down the sort of off the beaten track path of working by experience and networking. And I think especially in this industry, you're probably better off working down that path, actually learning by doing and getting the experience because experienced event operators are more interested in utilizing people who are actually have the knowledge or have the experience rather than someone who's learned something in the classroom.
You wouldn't do it.
Exactly
Yeah,
right.
You can't. And again, we're going to go into the festival thing in way more detail, but you've worked in festivals. Like they're like a ticking time bomb. Things go off. You're there. You've got to plug the problem. You can't learn that in a book. It's impossible.
Absolutely.
And digressing into that one, obviously you guys have worked in a bunch of Australian festivals and overseas festivals. Probably first to touch on the Australia stuff. So what are some of the massive big festivals you've done in Australia that you've worked on after that you've worked in Sensation?
Yeah. So, I mean, it was like a slow trajectory of working a lot of the bush festivals in Australia. So
Doofs.
Maitreya, Earthcore, Babylon. Then
Yamaya.
So literally all of them.
All of them.
All the bush doofs, yeah.
And we were doing pretty much every single year, the whole season, everything kind of asides from, Rainbow and Strawberry, the rest of them we were working on. And so there'd be 3 to 4 big bush doofs over the summer season each year, predominantly working in site and operations.
So just the 5 days, or you're working previously?
No, we'd be on site for. I mean, the pre-production goes for months before, but on site for up to a month before. Literally living in tents for a month in 40-degree heat, building the festival, working with all the different site teams, the production teams, stage, safety, everything, and looking at building out this entire festival, pretty much a city, out in the bush, and then coming to execute the show. So we'd have a team running, everything in our operations department, and we're running 24 hours. We'd have, teams from everything from traffic to overseeing security, overseeing artist management, liaison, and everything in between. But pretty much everything on the back end of a festival. So we got to see some crazy shit.
That's what I was going to say. Guys, those festivals, you named those 4. 2 of them I know came to a crashing halt with some pretty crazy experiences, I guess. So one was Maitreya.
Absolutely.
Were you working on that one when it fell over?
I was actually on site when the police stormed the site and raided the festival site because I think the promoter decided they still wanted to go ahead with the festival even after pressure.
Winding it back, they moved the location last minute without a pope. Is that what happened?
Yeah, well, they didn't actually get the Pope, and the Pope was like the linchpin of the festival proceeding, and there was a lot of pressure on the government to not allow the festival to go ahead. And basically, the police had to, because the promoter wasn't obeying by the instruction of the local government. The police had to come in and basically shut the festival site down. And I'm on site, and I'm like, I handed in my resignation at midnight the night before the show because I knew that this was not going well. And then I was like, thinking about all the elements of what could potentially happen. I started stashing all the computers that had all the information on all the permitting documentation and left site. Actually ended up setting up a Renegade festival because there were thousands of people.
That's right.
Yeah.
Is that you guys that did the Renegade?
We're doing that.
So it was about an hour out of Melbourne, and between us and our crews and a few other friends, a friend of a friend had a bush site that he was like, let's run a show. A bunch of people came together and pretty much put on this sick weekend where we had, a few thousand people. I remember on the first night, it was only actually probably about 100 of us. And then the word got out so quickly, and we went to kind of the front of the campgrounds at maybe 9 or 10 p.m. that night. And this was a smaller kind of really intimate crew. And we just see maybe 300-400 cars in the middle of the night, 300-400 cars lined up all the way down the highway. All we could see was headlights. But we're everyone's looking at each other and being like, what the fuck do we do? Do we just open this shit up and just let everyone come in? And so it was a matter of like, fuck it, let's just have fun. The word had spread. Obviously, you had 10,000 people
Looking for somewhere to go.
Yeah.
looking for somewhere.
And we-
Everyone
we-
was
we
planning on going to
actually-
Betrayal.
I think
Everyone's
we all-
cars were packed, ready to party, and
We almost had to, we weren't intending on like working really. It was a party for us, to enjoy after
Yeah, I
the
was
shit
gonna
show that
say.
happened.
Yeah.
But we actually ended up having to deploy some aspect of festival operations there to deal with all the traffic coming in. I remember we were on radio dealing with escorting 50 cars at a time in this pitch black property because there's no site lighting or anything. And we're like bringing all these cars in, all these people and charging entry and figuring out how much we should like
we're
charge them.
doing a
'cause we're like, right,
donation style because like obviously if police and things come, a ticketed event we can't run legally.
Totally,
So
yeah.
we're like, let's just do a donation. That way we're kind of covering our ends because this thing blew out really quickly. There were just so many people in it and like just spread like wildfire. So, but it turned out to be one of the sickest renegade parties and like one for the books. So
How much did the insurance cost on that one?
$0.
Absolutely. I think that one was pretty much for free because you remember you had all the festival suppliers from Maitreya who were engaged to run this show and they had their gear packed. They had either, they were pretty much ready to go. So they just pulled up to this site and they set up huge stretch tents. Food trucks rolled in. We had like 4 or 5 food trucks there. We had to
That's one of those things, right? With the Bushduff community, there's such a community. So it's like you were able to do that. Like if that was like a inner city festival, there's no way. Like no one's turning up if they're not being paid. No one's volunteering their time and their effort, their reward. No one's doing anything for free. But when it comes to the Bushduff, that is like, it's a testament to them, yeah? Like, because that's what happens. On that same site, Maitreya, people were still rolling in or they kept running the festival or something. Because I remember the police going in and forcibly forcing people to leave, right?
That's right. They were still telling people to come. So the owner was like telling people to come, and he changed the name like 3 or 4 times. I don't know if you remember this. He was like, "All right, maybe if we change it to instead of to Maitreya to your Treya," and then he changed it to our Treya.
Was there another one with a Y? It started with a Y too at one point. Maybe
what,
it was a
for
year afterwards or something
Yamaya.
like that.
Yeah, that was
yeah.
yeah. That was a great show. We ran that one as well.
So how did he think? You reckon that he was going to get away with it? Because I know, like,
He wasn't getting away. I think it was some sort of delusion or I don't know.
He was pop committed.
Yeah, he was pop committed.
And you know what? These guys, like, people are a bit rogue. And,
Yeah, they are.
and he had built this, like, credit to him, like, he had built a great festival for the past, like, probably 5-6 years or something
It
like
was
that.
actually the 10th anniversary.
There you go. 10th anniversary. So after 10 years and you have police shut down your show, he wasn't taking no for an answer. He's like, fuck it, I'm going ahead with this. Whoever wants to join me can. Police can rock up. People still rocked up. The show never went ahead, but that was a sad ending.
I'm going to explain why that happened. So a pope is what you have to run a festival. So any form of gathering of people, you have to have a pope, which is basically a permit from the government to say that you're doing everything right. So this didn't have a pope, basically. So that's why it got shut down. But I'm going to go on to the next one. So another festival you worked on, you mentioned, which again has more crazy stories than probably any festival in Australia's history, is Earthcore. So do you have any stories about Earthcore? And for those that don't know, there was a guy called Spiro Birusine, and he's passed away now. But he was arguably one of the most infamous promoters to ever walk the Australian landscape. And he's a interesting character. And I can't imagine what that would have been like working with him on that festival that was so notorious, I guess.
I wish we could pull up the email threads. There are some just we have some screenshots of some email threads that are just so funny. It just like sums up exactly who Spiro was
We don't
as
even
a person.
reply, like he just starts yelling at you.
Just like proper, just yelling like caps lock, 4-word letters, fuck you, you're done, you're fired, and then followed up by an email saying like, oh, actually, I still need you to do that, fuck you, this. Like, it was just, there are some amazing, some email threads that we've kept, and pretty much like once a year or once every 2 years, like our group pull up those screenshots and we still have a fucking laugh at how he was just off his head.
I've got one of that. We had booked Vinny Vici for Queensland, and same thing. It was off the back of Earthcore. It was the one that fell apart where they went to the caravan park, and it was sort of like he didn't turn up. But it was the same sort of situation as the one that originally fell over, and he decided that I was the person he was going to attack, and he was doing the same thing. It was just email, text message, telling me that I couldn't have Vinny Vici that day, but I knew where he was staying, so I literally slid a note under his door saying, "Call me for dinner." and then as soon as Vinny Vici called me, I was like, "Spiro, you can abuse me all you want. Like, it's already done."
Yeah.
But yeah, interesting cat, man. When you were running that festival, what was that like?
Look, it was interesting. Obviously, the way Earthcore was promoted was, pre Earthcore. the Bushdorf or underground scene was a lot more underground. It was less commercialized. And when Earthcore came on the scene, the way in which it was promoted to a lot of the city young kids, a lot of the clubs, they were utilizing those promoters to sell the tickets. And in turn, you'd have a relatively young crowd, inexperienced in the bush, at a multi-day festival. And then therefore that in turn turned into, a more, like emergency situations where you'd have challenging environments with young kids, inexperienced.
I contributed to that. We're one of those club brands that was sending kids up to
we
your
know.
way. Yeah.
Exactly right. So
That's right.
I like to say at one point the lighting was sponsored by Ambulance Victoria because there was so many ambulances driving around that site at one point. Picking up all the kids. But
I'll tell you, Earthcore was probably one of those festivals where we learnt the most about triaging medical situations, working under the highest amount of pressure. We're talking middle of the night, you've got medical situations, kids dropping like flies every 5 minutes.
And there's 5 calls at once.
Yeah, there's only so many medical resources you have.
I'm assuming GHB was the issue.
Absolutely,
that was peak GHB.
So we actually
it was during that peak King Street time when
it was like King Street, like all the kids on King Street were getting.
So we
shipped up
actually, as a part of that, I think Earthcore was one of the first ones where we did something called Blowout Patrol. It's something that Gid and I sort of came up with, and what we do is to sort of combat the young kids dropping. We would go out in advance on the buggies with torches, with medical, and we'd scour the campgrounds, scour the edges of the dance floors, and we try and catch the patrons before they hit the deck. And so we used to call that Blowout Patrol, and then we ended up doing Blowout Patrol every night. We do shift times for it at other festivals. And
I can't imagine how many people we either caught just before they were about to blow out, or how much. I would just walk up to, if I saw someone having a plunge or whatever, walk straight up to them, grab it out of their hand, pour it out of their hand, and be like, you're gonna be kicked out if you're seen with this shit again. And funnily enough, people didn't argue. They kind of there was that.
They knew, hey, it's such a weird thing. And that's the thing is, even when you talk about the blowout stuff, I can imagine when you guys were torching, it would have been looking for wild animals.
Yeah.
They're their eyes are so weird and they're like gremlins almost.
Yeah.
And you can spot them from a mile away.
Yeah.
Well, some of them are half asleep on the side of the dance floor. So there was a few situations where it either got radioed through and there were people literally not breathing in the middle of the dance floor.
We'd be
so we had to
resussing
literally
CPR.
resussing right in the middle of the dance floor, clear the entire dance floor. DJ's still playing, music still going, and an ambulance literally backs right into the middle of the dance floor. Talk about a vibe kill. But and this was happening night after night, multiple times a night, and people were really freaking out because it's not a good look. You're at a festival, you're trying to have a good time, and you're literally looking at someone dead, not breathing, and someone's arms on the dance floor, and they have to be resussed, or they need to be taken out and medevaced out to the hospital. So,
but what's crazy about that is in that period of time, and I've spoken about it multiple times on my other platforms, but it became these clubbers that were involved in doing it, they became the normal. I would watch them blow out, get taken in an ambulance, then return 3 hours later.
Yeah, it's fine.
So they normalized the most craziest thing I've ever seen in the last 2 decades, which is that GHB epidemic.
Yeah.
And they normalized it. They would go into these festivals and doing it, watching people do it, then still continuing to participate. It was wild. I hope no one ever sees that again. But in that peak Earthcore time when King Street was basically at its peak too, we were pulling fucking 7 to 14 out a day, out of the club. And then ambulance, same as you said before, the street was lit in disco lights, and those disco lights were ambulance trucks.
Wild times.
And it almost got to a point where it was the usual suspects. Year after year, it was the same people presenting to medical. And that being said, looking back now, looking at the festivals now, you see those same attendees going to festivals. However, they've grown up, they've become more responsible, and it's funny to chat to them on the dance floor now and say, hey, 10 years ago, you used to be coming to medical every night. And so a lot of these people have grown up and become more responsible, and it's so nice to see that sort of responsibility and maturity take place.
I actually did something the other day. I was talking about on this, and I was saying Bushdorf's minus say Earthcore, which you guys just covered why that happened. But traditionally, it's mature drug users that go to those festivals, so you actually don't see a lot of problems because they take drugs, but they understand how to take care of one another. They understand how to take them. And I'm you see less serious issues at those events than you do, say something in the city, because these people are aware and they have education, which we don't give them. I almost feel there needs to be some sort of education. Hey, look, you're not supposed to take these. These are illegal, but if you do, these are the parameters that you should do it within. And this is what you should do, and these are the repercussions that don't exist if you do it. I think it would save a lot more lives than fucking saying, you know, if you get caught with this, you're going to go to jail. Or
Yeah,
this, you know.
100%. As crazy as it sounds, like those first few festivals for all these kids, that is their education.
True.
Like
Yeah.
we work at festivals that the demographics, the 18 to 20 years old. Those are the ones with the highest medical presentations, but those are the nights that these kids learn what they can and can't do and
So
what their
true.
bodies can't handle, and they'll learn real quick. And unfortunately, the whole education piece, like they're pushing out in Europe, Netherlands, etc., isn't as proactive here. And our version of that, because we haven't gotten to the whole pill testing, etc., is these kids need to learn by
Dying or going to hospital.
well, hopefully
Yeah.
not. Hopefully
They
not
do
dying,
die, though,
but,
like they do.
but
Like
as
you
long
look
as
at-
they've got good mates around them and they can look after them, that's where they learn. Unfortunately,
It's such a wild thing because our government's like, it's almost like they pretend it doesn't exist. Yeah. Like, so we try our hardest as festival promoters or organisers to not let it get in. Like, obviously we do, but it's impossible.
Yeah.
So then when they're in, it's almost, we should be saying, this is the education piece of what we need to do to keep you safe. It shouldn't be like pretending that they didn't get them in the first place. Yeah. And so that's another complete conversation that I think I might end up doing a forum on it because it's such a big topic of conversation. But they're the Australian festivals you worked on. You've done a whole bunch of stuff overseas. Two of the notable ones that I can think of right now are Fire Festival and what was the other one? I'm now going to remember the cut.
We just came back from Coachella.
And Coachella, plus a bunch of other ones.
Yeah.
I'd love to talk about the international experiences you've had, and then probably go into detail on some of them too.
Yeah.
Also, too, how did you get into working into most of the guys I know who run festivals now? They're basically predominantly Australian based. Like, other than you guys, like, how did you break into
100%.
overseas?
It's literally just
Networking.
networking. That's
Yeah.
that's all it is.
And it's about getting in front of the right people and then proving your worth and showing them what you're capable of, and then having a strong relationship and then them trusting you to bring you on overseas. And like how the whole Fire Festival thing came about was
We could start back at Ultra Music Festival. That was pretty much the first overseas engagement.
In
And
Miami.
so
I actually remember watching you guys go there.
the same
Yeah.
person who engaged me to do Sensation in the MTV Awards also was producing the main stage for Ultra in 2013 and said, "You want to come across and work on the show?" And of course, had to be there. So spent a month working on the main stage for Ultra Music Festival. It was their first year doing 2 weekends, and so working on that, working with all the international teams there and creating relationships there. And then, those relationships stem to working on other opportunities overseas. And so that was in 2013. That was 11 years ago now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for the last 10, 11 years, we've been operating overseas. And
if it
Adam
was-
went too, didn't he? Because I remember all you guys going, so I didn't know that was the first
No,
time.
that was Ultra last year. This is Ultra 2013. So
Okay.
this was 11 years ago. But if it wasn't for us going out for that show, we wouldn't have met, one of our now best friends who
and our business partner.
and our business partner over in America, who pretty much opened up an insane amount of opportunity over there. He was the same age as us back in 2013, so we were like 21 years old.
Yeah.
We met him. He now owns the largest PA supplier, I think, in the East Coast or
East Coast, yeah.
East Coast of America. So he provides PA and production for all the biggest touring festivals, all the biggest touring shows. And essentially, he's kind of grown up with us, and now we've set up a business in America where a lot of that business is getting funneled through our new entity, and the opportunities are just blowing up at the
And
moment.
what is that, running festivals or working with
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, anything from technical production design or event operations or full scale event production for a festival. Dealing with artists, so we're currently working on a few big artist shows. We just did Coachella. We've got Madison Square Gardens coming.
How was
up
that?
in
How was
June.
Coachella?
Coachella, interesting. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough time to actually experience it. It's one of the most highly produced festivals in the world. We had a massive engagement to produce one of the headline acts on Sahara, which is John Summit. So we did the production management for all of his shows, and then Dom Dollar and John Summit for Everything Always.
Aussies supporting Aussies.
Yeah.
Love to see
the
it.
Aussie contingent over there, which is really cool to see. Actually working with a few of the guys that we work with in Australia, having all of them on the ground as well.
That'd
It's,
be awesome.
it's pretty cool to have a big Aussie contingent there.
So Fire Fest.
So Fire
Fest.
Festival. That's an interesting
Everyone wants
one.
to get to that one.
Yeah. So, look, I got a call 5 weeks out before Fire Festival, and basically saying, you're able to come across and assist with doing the technical production for Fire Festival. And I didn't even,
This was actually based on having, you know, a wealth of knowledge in multi-day, remote location, outdoor festivals.
Yeah.
The guys over in Miami are used to doing, like, you know, single day inner city shows where you don't need to build a whole city, and
Because it's not as big in America, Doofs.
no, camping festivals are Doofs. I mean, I guess Doofs are
Different thing.
camping
Like, I know they've
festivals.
got Burning Man.
But,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, yeah.
specifically with the Fire Festival promoters and with the production company that was engaged, you know, they didn't have a vast experience in operating remote locations where you have to be completely self-contained. So that being said, you know, came across and we were very lucky. We were completely self-contained. We were the only provider on site that actually executed and delivered exactly what we were supposed to. We had our full main stage designed with PA production all in. We actually had a few artists perform on our stage. And it's funny, no one actually got to see what we actually created because the festival got such bad press because nothing else was organised. But we were lucky the way we planned it. We were completely self-contained. We brought in 6 40-foot shipping containers, a massive portable stage. We brought in generators ourselves and built this whole stage on a massive sandlight in front of the beach. And it was beautiful, pristine blue waters. And watching this whole festival fall apart in front of us, you know, it was really a sight to see, watching all these incredibly wealthy people who had been paid like $12,000 to $400,000 US a ticket rock up on this island to it literally look the way I can best explain Fire Festival was imagine New York had a big outbreak of like a virus or something like that, and all the elite got evacuated to a FEMA camp on an island. Okay,
A theme camp?
Yeah, so you're watching
No, a FEMA camp, like a
FEMA, like a
what are they called? Like a disaster
disaster relief
relief
camp.
camp.
disaster relief camps. You can imagine what I was watching was, you know, a lot of people rocking up with their Louis Vuitton bags and their diamond Rolexes off the back of a 1950s American school bus that we barged in from Nassau because there were no vehicles on the island, with no air conditioning, and then having their luggage split up from them from when they arrived on a private charter flight. And then it was just absolute pandemonium and chaos. And the night before the festival, we tried to convince the festival promoter, Billy, to pull the pin on the show. And obviously due to his commitments with funding for the show, investment and whatnot, you know, if he had to cancel the show the night before or the week before or months before, he would have to refund all the money that he had already spent. So, you know, that being said, he was like, no, I'm pushing forward with the show. And we're like, all right, this is about to be a disaster, which we already knew. We already knew a month out it was going to be a disaster. I knew before I left Australia it was going to be a disaster based off what they were trying to build and where they were at with the build. Just by asking 10 questions on a phone saying, where are you at with the build? You know, they were still building roads when the patrons arrived from the festival. There was no sight lighting. There were toilets there, but they weren't plumbed in. They weren't powered up. They weren't, you know, drinking water. There was no catering. You know, the famous sandwich that everyone got to see, that was only because the caterer pulled out last minute, and this is 24 hours out, and they were scrambling because they had patrons arriving on planes already. So we ended up having to push the patrons to the crew catering, which was provided by local Bohemians, which is what those cheese sandwiches that you saw was just like crew catering, and it made out to be like that was the catering for the festival, which it wasn't, but it was just what was available at midnight when everyone was just running to secure tents. And basically Billy got up in front of everyone, and I actually got to see it, and basically just said, everyone just fend for yourself, find all the tents. And people just start running and trying to secure their bags and secure their tents. And all the tents, they're not strapped down. There's no floors in them. There was high winds, it was rain, and it was just watching pandemonium. And me sitting there, I was very fortunate that I had this beautiful house on the water, you know, a big mansion, and I basically drove around in my Jeep and just picked up people and said, hey, does anyone want a bed to sleep in? And you know, and offering up rooms in my house. So I threw people in the back of my Jeep, took them back to the house. They were the lucky ones. The rest of the ones just, you know, stranded, fed for themselves. And then, you know, post show, you know, Bohemian government basically cancelled Billy's passport, who was the festival promoter, and said, you're not allowed to leave until the festival's cleaned up. And he jumped on one of his mates' mega yachts the next morning and left back to Miami. Just fucked off back to Miami. Left everyone, the senior management team, all there. And so everyone started. American Airlines sent 3 empty planes to the island to pick
So
up.
a full
all the-
ended up being a disaster, like an
Oh
actual
yeah,
disaster.
yeah. It was declared a state of emergency on the island with the government, and so American Airlines send the planes. They start taking back these patrons free of charge, send it back, and then we're left there. So the festival was supposed to be 2 weekends. So I'm there for 3 weeks, including loadout. So I'm like, I'm staying here. I'm going to call the. So I end up speaking to like the head of accommodation, and he already told me that they'd prepaid all these monster mansions for the headliners like Blink-182.
Kanye West, et cetera,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
all those guys. And I said, where are the keys to these places? He was leaving. He said, I'm going back to New York. Here's where I've kept the keys. Here are the keys to all the cars that they've hired in from Budget and Avis on barges that got sent from Nassau, which is the local, the biggest island in the Bahamas. And I basically got the keys with the local, with the management team, and we basically mansion hopped for 3 days. Sorry, for a week.
Mansion
to
hopped.
3 separate
What a term.
mansions. Oh yeah, it was amazing, and I got to show you the photos of it because these.
I actually
places
remember
were-
seeing some from back when you were there.
Yeah, that was spectacular. And then we also, there was only a couple of us who knew where. So the festival brought in a 40-foot shipping container with $2 million worth of high-end alcohol, and that alcohol that was untouched because the festival never went ahead. So what we'd do was we would go to the festival site, which actually the Bohemian government locked down and said no one in, no one out. But we were lucky enough that we had access to our stage that we had built, so we could go in there. So we'd bring these big Pelican cases into the site, broke into the shipping container, and we would take, without a doubt, $100,000 to $200,000 worth of alcohol out of there. And I'm talking only a Pelican case that's a metre wide.
Wow.
We're talking like $30,000 bottles of Armand Brignac champagne.
He sends
and-
me a photo. He sends me a photo of this bottle of champagne, and he's like, "Can you?" He's like, "What champagne is this? How much it's worth? How much is it worth?" I look at it. It was a 15-litre bottle of Ace of Spades rosé. I look at it, 20,000 USD. I said, "Ash, chuck that in a suitcase and fucking send it back to Australia." And he goes, the next message back was a photo with him in the pool. He goes, "Too late, we sprayed it in the pool."
Yeah.
I'm like, you're
And we were
fucking
do-
nuts.
We were doing this every day. We had like boxes of this stuff with Dom Perignon and 1942 and Class Azul, and we were just spraying it in the pool. We were just taking all this stuff. We were drinking it and having fun over the next 2 weeks. And he was trying to tell me to bring it back to Australia, and I'm like, I'm not bringing this stuff back. But yeah, we ended up having a lot of fun with the houses, and we ended up actually calling Ja Rule and him giving us his credit card to buy food for the team because there was no way of really,
So he actually came to save, like a bit of a saviour.
Look, he really didn't
I
have
would-
any direct involvement, but
Exaggeration,
I think
Are
he
you
felt
talking about Ja
guilty.
Rule?
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't have any direct involvement. He was kind of lured in by Billy and they created this figurehead of the festival. But when push came to shove, he did feel guilty that we were on the island. So he's like, yeah, of course.
So he's thinking you guys are stranded there, like living like this really rough lifestyle.
Yeah,
and you're
yeah.
mansion hopping,
I
spraying
love-
$15,000 bottles into a pool.
Yeah. It was honestly, it was an experience. But we also had to lay low. We had to keep our heads below the when we were driving through the island because all the locals there were employed by Billy. Hundreds of them
Angry.
to provide local labour.
Yep.
They all never got paid, and they all looked to the people that they knew. And we, from a technical production perspective, Billy gave us like 30 guys to work on. So they were working with us for a couple of weeks, and they knew me and and my other partner. And so when all the shit went down, they basically looked to us as the people that they knew. So they'd give us your money. Like they threatened us. We had to like secure all our assets on the site because they just started looting everything on the site. I've got videos of them coming in, and it was funny. Like we had, that container of alcohol, and like at the end of the festival, like when I eventually left and I went to the airport, they had all these bottles of the same alcohol, like the high-end alcohol, being sold at the airport that wasn't there previously. And all the Posturepedic mattresses that were in all these tents that they bought, these beautiful Posturepedic mattresses, were being sold in shop windows and shop fronts when I was driving around the island 2 weeks later.
That's gold.
And there's just the utes with just loot stacked to the roof driving around the island. People are just stealing everything from that site because they didn't get paid. Yeah, honestly,
Disaster.
absolute disaster.
Proper disaster.
But I had a great time.
Yeah,
So-
it's like that sometimes they're the situations when something feels like it's going to blow up and then it ends up being fun. But like even when you run a festival, right, like I've been at them the ones that I've worked out or done, where 3 days beforehand you're questioning yourself if it's going to go ahead. So at what point did you really sit there and go, fuck, this actually is not going to go ahead? Because nine times out of 10, you guys know we work in this space. You make it happen. Like that's the MOU, yeah. And like, at that, was there never a point where you were like, this is going to go ahead, or was
Yeah.
there?
So when I got the call 5 weeks before I left, that was the moment that I knew it was never going ahead. That was when I asked, like I said, the 10 questions to see where they're at with the planning, what's involved in it, where they're at, like building the site, who's involved, what's been happening behind the scenes. They like moved the event management company 3 times. They had multiple providers pull in and out. They're having a problem with funds already at that point. And just the level of execution that they were going for was just not possible in that timeline. But I said, you know what? I'm in for the ride. Let's do it. And every night, you know, it was the one of the guys in the documentary who ended up having that deal with the who was he? He was the
Evian guy?
The Evian guy, if you remember him.
Yeah.
I used to chat with him every night, and we used to talk about how much of a shit show this thing is going to be, and every day, you know, there were 10 decisions that were being, there was one problem being solved and 10 problems being created at the same time. And actually another really good example of that was I was sitting in the operations compound, and this is 48 hours out from show, and I'm just watching the decisions and the conversations that are being had. And basically, the head of accommodation says, we've run out of accommodation for all the staff, the bar staff and security. They're going to be arriving on the island in 24 hours. What are we going to do? And the festival director, Billy and Grant, were throwing ideas around. I'm just listening to this conversation, and Grant's like, what if we just get a cruise liner, like a cruise liner? We'll just get a cruise liner. We'll put it in the water. We'll have all the people stay on the cruise liner. And I'm thinking, what world are these guys living in that they think that they can just get a cruise liner and put it on? And anyway, so I leave the operations compound, wake up the next morning. I look out the window of my house, and I see a massive cruise liner sitting in the water. I'm like, I didn't think anything of it. Go back to the ops house, and I'm like, hey guys, what's with the cruise liner? And they're like, oh yeah, we ended up getting a cruise liner. We paid $500,000 for it yesterday, wire transfer. Got a spare one near the Caribbean. And they didn't even know what it looked like, but when they went on board, they realized it was a luxury cruise liner. So they pivoted, and they put to hide the disaster. They put all the influencers on the cruise liner and put all the staff like in the FEMA tents that they had.
No
so
shit.
This was like the decision making that was being made, spending
24
millions
hours
of dollars
beforehand.
every day. Yeah.
So that's one crazy story you guys have. You've got heaps of them. We've gone through a couple, but I know you've dealt with artists, like as you've been working in festivals and whatnot, or celebrities or superstars, I'd say. You mentioned Kanye West before and Blink-182, but before we were speaking about this, you guys were telling me a story about the Beckhams. So I'd love you guys to get into that and talk about that situation, how you found yourself in that.
Yeah. We were producing a show in Miami called 3 Points. It's a 25,000 person 3-day show right in the middle of Miami. One of the nights, I think maybe like second night, I was just chatting to. I just randomly hit up. There's a guy in Miami who pretty much owns all the hospitality, all the restaurants, the clubs. His name's David Grutman. He's a big deal over there. And I was chatting to his 2IC on Instagram to him, and I just said, hey mate, like if you want to come down to the show tonight, let me know. You know, we'd love to have you, kind of thing, whatever. He hits me back. He's like, yeah, actually the headliner, I think her name, Rosalia, a huge Latina act. She was headlining the festival. They're like, yeah, we'd actually really like to come see her. We've got some high profile guests that we'd like to bring along. Is that okay? I said, absolutely not a problem. I didn't want to pry, and I didn't want to say like, who are these guests? I said, not a problem. Let us know, what you need to arrange. He said, well, we're arriving by police motorcade, so we'll have our private security team meet your festival security team on site. They dropped me their live location as they were coming to the festival. We met them out by the.
We already knew it was the Beckhams at this point. We got told like 24 hours before that the Beckhams were potentially coming. We didn't know if they were actually going to come or not. And from a festival perspective, like we were dealing with so many different aspects at that point. We didn't really, put a team in place to deal with their arrival and sort of, handhold them, during the show.
Yep.
And so actually Gid jumped into that position and basically, chaperoned David, Victoria,
Hopper, Cruz, the forums, pretty much almost the whole family arrived there. 6 police car motorcade, their private security team. The first thing was like a straightaway introduction to David Beckham. I'm not the biggest like soccer fan, but like everybody,
course, everyone knows
household
who he
name,
is,
right?
yeah.
Like everybody knows who he is. Lovely guy. And the first thing he's like, oh, my wife wants to go to the bathroom. Kind of, I look around where I'm like, there's actually like a portaloo. I mean, one of those nice portaloos. It was, and
Not so posh spice.
yeah, not so posh spice. Yeah, but she was lovely. He was like, "Oh, do you mind waiting with my wife while she goes to the bathroom?" We took her to the bathroom, and then we had, our head of security and our team with their bodyguards. I think they arrived with like 3 or 4 bodyguards as well, and they were like, "We'd like to go see Rosalia at the main stage." So we had to pretty much clear out an entire area just so the Beckhams could, watch the show from, in a really kind of private space.
Well,
where
we ended up
secure.
kind of like staying with them, and they kind of ended up trusting us almost to the point where, Cruz and what's the daughter's name?
Hopper, I think.
Hopper, yeah, wanted to go see Black Coffee, and David and Victoria were sitting there, and they said, "Dad, can we go see? And they pointed to me, "Can we take Ash to go and see Black Coffee?" And David comes up to me, he's like, "You want to look after my kids?" And I'm like, "Absolutely." So we take them in my cart to the Black Coffee stage, while Gid stays with David and Victoria, and then we were, cruising around, came back, and we ended up just escorting them around the festival site, looking after them, and they were quite thankful and surprisingly trusting, actually.
They were lovely. Oh no, they did send their bodyguard with when we took.
Not with me.
Oh, okay, so anyway, she wanted to go to a roller skating ring. There was a roller skating ring in the festival. They sent a bodyguard with us so she could be safe. But just insane the level,
Organisation around a couple of people, hey?
Totally. Like these guys roll like the bloody president. So,
Well, they kind of are. Like they'd be arguably some of the most famous people in the world, right?
Totally, and this is when I think he, was a year into being with Inter Miami, so that was like his big thing. But just a cool, crazy story. And then the owner of the guy who owns all the hospitality in Miami sent me a message the following day, thanking me, saying, bring whoever you want to one of my restaurants. Everything's on us, and it was just a really nice
Pinch yourself moment.
It was epic.
That's the thing, man. That's the thing I love about our industry is that we've all got wild stories, maybe not as good as them too, but where you find yourself in these situations that you just couldn't find yourself in. And that, to me, has always been the allure to what we do, because it's like working, say, in a normal job or a 9 to 5. You don't get an opportunity where the Beckhams accidentally roll up to a festival you're running and you get to host them, right?
Totally. I think that's the more glitz and glam, but people don't see
all the other stuff beforehand.
the
yeah.
other shit
It's
that we have
like
to
in
deal
the
with,
trench work, like doing
yeah.
16-hour days, and you come home bloody filthy and your feet are fucked, and like
You've done 30,000 steps.
yeah, and it's people don't see that whole part.
It's actually, I was going to actually mention that when we were talking about the bush stuff before, but it's like when you guys were saying you were there for a month, I myself was thinking like 3 days beforehand's hard enough. Like doing a month, what people don't see is that you're actually working 24 hours a day other than sleeping for that whole entire time. Like you're saying, you're just solving problems and spot fires flat out. There is issues. Like every time you solve an issue, 3 more pop up. It's not glitzy and glamour whatsoever when you're running a festival. Yes, you get these amazing experiences, and you get to experience like these amazing situations.
that's like the
but
1%.
It's literally the 1%,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You work for it hard.
Yeah. And as a festival producer, people always ask you like, what did you think of the festival? And like, I can never give a good understanding of how the festival was, because from the moment it started to the moment it finished, I don't see anything good. I only deal with the bad things that are happening and constantly problem solving the whole time. And so you don't actually, from a patron perspective, you don't actually get to see, the positives or the vibe that's created, because you're constantly dealing with all the bullshit. But that's all part of the job, I guess.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. Like that, even from a venue's perspective, I get people always saying to me, "What's your favorite venue?" And I'm like, I'm not going to give you a good answer, because my favorite venue is like how the green rooms are set up, how the staging and the lighting guy is, like how the bartenders work, how the manager is. So my perspective of a venue is from a working perspective. So I love, say, for argument's sake, in Melbourne, Prince or Billboard or RMH. It's like
And
Timberyard,
Yeah,
which
it's
I want to
very
go
good.
to there. But I love those venues from a different perspective, because I'm not sitting there participating in I guess the environment that we're creating. So I can't give someone like this is the best venue, because the things that I think are the best aren't. And that leads into me going to the venue part. But you guys own the Timberyard, which is now, like I saw it from the beginning to now, but it's one of the most probably largest sort of mid-scale festival spaces that has some of the best artists come through it all the time. Firstly, I remember going through there with Adam when you first started, and I was like, well, how the fuck are these boys going to pull this off, or how's this going to work? To now watching it multiple times through be it fucking Super Bowls to events to corporate events to music events to Fred again. How did you guys, I guess, pivot in from what you're doing festival into the Space Timber Yard? And then also, I'd love to go through some highlights too. Like I know you've been there for what, 8 years now, or maybe longer?
Maybe 5 years. 5 years minus 2.5 years of
owned it for
COVID.
8 years though?
Yeah, we actually, we'll kind of give you the full scope. I mean, where we actually, where I first came across you was when we started our festival, the Petting Zoo Festival.
Yeah.
And we ran that for like 5 years. And pretty much a goal of our show every year was like to find a unique space every single year. So, you know, first year festival promoters, knowing nothing about promoting, we completely undersold. I think we did like 600 tickets in the laneway of La-di-da down the back, and we're like, all right, we lost a shitload of money that year, but we're like, fuck it, let's double down. And we were dedicated to we booked this, relatively big international lineup for a 600. I mean, there were 4 headliners, for a 600-person show, but we did our absolute nuts in on that first show. And we're like, you know what, let's double down, let's do a second show. Second show was in the Docklands, that street party. We shut down 2 streets right in the middle of the Docklands. It'd never been done before, right under the Melbourne Eye, that whatever it was, that carousel thing that's in the middle of Docklands. And that was, we struck gold that one. And that's a story you're familiar with the Camel Fat booking.
Yeah, so when that happened, so I'll probably like prelude it a little. So the boys had approached us. So when I was first introduced to you guys, I remember knowing you guys as guys who ran festivals for people. And when you were starting events, I'm like, you weren't promoters. And everything, when I was talking and having conversations with you guys, it was all like, how's this going to look good production-wise? It was all like the logistic component that you guys were focused on. So we had some early conversations about potentially us coming in as promoters. And there was other guys that were sort of, I guess, a part of that conversation too. But I remember my business partner at the time, Kyle Hand, he sold you guys Camel Fat after we passed up on it. So Camel Fat, we got offered for, I think it was 4 to 6 grand. I can't remember. I don't know what you guys paid, but that's what I was offered.
Kyle.
And then I said no. So we were like, nah, because we'd had a string of events to lose money or whatever. And then you guys did Petting Zoo, and Camel Fat was the headliner, and you guys struck gold. So you can go into what happened.
You know, the funniest part about that is Camel Fat wasn't even the headliner. We were like, Camel Fat were pretty much not nobodies during that time, but they were just an up and coming tech house act. I mean, they were you bought them for like $4,000. So how big could they be, right? At that time, we knew nothing about like festival promoting. Even learning how to book artists was like a huge learning curve for us. So we didn't have access to massive artists. We were booking like low to mid tier artists. I was chatting to Kyle about Camel Fat. I actually loved Camel Fat for the last few years. I'm like, fuck yeah, I love their music. Would love to book them. I pretty much knew that no one in the crowd, or maybe knew who they were, right? So but I was like, fuck it, let's book them and let's go ahead. Then maybe 3 or 4 months out from the festival, this was in December, maybe in June or July, they dropped Cola, and Cola becomes
#1 worldwide, basically.
Literally the biggest track commercially and in the EDM world, just ginormous, right? So we completely struck gold. I think we ended up paying like 11 grand for Kyle had to make his money too.
Mates rates.
Yeah, exactly.
I had mates rates.
So we ended up paying like 11 grand for an act that should have been 60, 80 grand at the time.
Yeah.
We went from doing 600 tickets in the first year to almost 8,000, 7,000.
And you could have sold more too.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we were completely limited by our venue, and we had no idea that Camel Fat was going to be this big, and pretty much sold. And they weren't even our headline act. We had put out the lineup as Camel Fat as like 2nd or 3rd tier, and by the time the show came around, they were literally the biggest act in the world. We sold an amazing amount of tickets, and we really bounced back, and were able to kind of build festival to festival. But during that time, during the whole Petting Zoo time, and trying to source new venues, every single year, we actually came across this completely desolate site in Port Melbourne.
And what was it? Because I remember going there and getting it was like wooden gun pellet boxes. I've still got them in my house.
It was an old timber furniture factory.
Yeah.
And it was like 100 years old or something like that. But it was literally just a rusted out roof, dirt floor, and literally nothing else on site. So we came across it and we're like, fuck, we'd love to do Petting Zoo here. This would be perfect. It's a shell. We can just build a stage, bring in food trucks, create a bit of a vibe. And we went down that path of, speaking to council, trying to permit it, liquor licensing, etc. The state of the site and the timelines that we were working in was just too difficult to pull it off. Council were like, nah, you're not running a show here. we're like, okay, we ended up pivoting to another venue, but we saw that space and we're like, this actually could become, you know, a great hub for music shows, you know, in Melbourne if we looked at like a permanent long-term solution for this. And so pretty much from that point on, you know, we got in contact with the owner, you know, we took a lease out on the property and then began what we had no idea what it become, but like the first 3 years of essentially building a huge licensed venue with
It's a festival site in a warehouse, basically.
100%
Yeah.
with,
the
with zero experience.
The difficult thing with that is
Because you had heaps of challenges with cancels, didn't you?
What?
You had a lot of challenges with cancels too. Because I remember
yes.
you was like, it's in 6 months, it's in 6 months, it's in 6 months. And I got to a point where I was like, this is never going to
It's
happen.
not going to happen.
So-
Yeah.
That was the feedback from everyone. They were like, some guys walked in like, you guys have absolute balls. And we tried to tell them like, yeah, it's going to happen like 6 months, another 6 months. And people were like, this shit's never getting off the
That
ground.
was the
Like,
general conversation.
It took
was like,
3 years.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the most difficult thing was, I think we were 24, 25 at the time. And yeah, imagine dealing with council as 25-year-olds and liquor licensing,
Yeah.
permitting a license the size of that scale. Melbourne hasn't seen that in a long time. And, you know, sitting in front of a sea of, you know, 12 different police from licensing division and local police and whatnot, trying to convince them that we're operators and that we can, you know, give us
Pull
the
this off.
license.
100%. Also them looking at our background, being like, these guys just do music festivals and they're opening up a venue. They're literally looking at us thinking, these guys are opening up a nightclub.
Yeah.
Yeah, they called it a Trojan horse.
Yeah, Trojan horse. And that was front page of the newspaper that this venue was going to be a Trojan horse for music festivals.
To be fair, you guys did the complete opposite of that. And I think that you turned a lot of people's opinions. And now it's so iconic. Like, you guys effectively started a new genre of venue, right? So since you guys started that, you were the first ones to do it. There's been multiple pop up, but you guys are still the heartbeat of it. And you run some of the best events there. What are some of the artists that have been through there? Like, obviously I know them, but maybe even just your favorite ones that have been through there that you've loved the most, or
Oh, God. Yeah. I mean,
We've done lots of big like electronic acts like Stefan Bodson.
Charlotte DeWitt,
Honey
Honey Dijon, you know, Fred again. One of my favorites actually was just 2 nights ago. We had Vintage Culture.
yeah, I saw that.
So many across the.
We've done a lot of like
We had Cat Empire last week.
a lot of private like high-paying clients do some, and unfortunately, there's things we just can't talk about. But like, you know, a lot of big acts come and play in the venue for private clients, whether it's corporate or you know, a 50th birthday. But it's cool to see so many different like people, artists, and different types of events come through the door at the venue.
And like
every day is different there.
When we built the space, we originally thought it was just going to be, okay, we do like, you know, 6-7 music events a year, and that's all it was going to be, right? And honestly, that's what we thought. And then as soon as we started kind of marketing it, we got our license. We're like, hey, let's put this out to market and see what happens. And we were actually selling it on digital renders because the place looked like a bomb site, right? We still hadn't like
It literally
really
looked like a bomb site. It looked like an old war-torn
Exactly, it was a bomb site, and like one of our first like light bulb moments was when like AFL hit us up. And they're like, "Oh yeah, we've heard about this space. Can we do our Christmas party there?" And we're like, "What the fuck? Why would AFL want to do their Christmas party at this like war-torn bomb site?" Anyway, we're like, "Okay, hang on. Maybe there is a market for like corporate clients." People like. We didn't realize at the time, but like people were, you know, corporate people were getting bored of like boring, you know, ballrooms and Crown Palladiums, etc. And they wanted something rustic and really Melbourne and whatever. And we kind of jerried onto that pretty quickly. And we're like, okay, hang on, maybe this could be more than just a music venue. And so pretty quickly we, you know, changed a lot of our, you know, our marketing, our business plan, and even like the look and aesthetic of the venue to cater towards these big corporates. And now corporate is probably like 75-80% of what we do, right? So it's like that Monday to Friday is all everything from conferences to brand launches to automotive launches, you know, to, you know, massive charity gala dinners. And then, you know, on the weekends, it's music events, it's expos, it's wine and cheese stuff, it's, you know, everything in between.
So cool.
But
I remember when you first started that, there was those 7 dates, the figure you used, which is always 7. I don't know why. Like, even Reva was like 7.
Yeah.
7 seems to be the magic number. But, and I remember like everyone...
I think 6 is the magic number, but yeah.
And then everybody was like talking about it. And I remember talking to Mike and we were like figuring out how we could get one of those dates, secure one of those dates. And then now it's fucking open almost every day. Like, it
100%.
seems like it is anyway.
I remember Mike hit us up, like, I want to do Hot Since 82 here. I specifically remember that conversation. I'm like, yeah, bro, the venue's going to be ready for Hot Since 82. Let's lock it in. Meanwhile, I'm thinking like, fuck, we got to get a move on because like.
Was that the
people-
one? Do you miss? From my memory, there was a date. I think I don't know if I was involved in it or not, but there was a venue that we booked. Had something had been booked there, and everyone was moving forward like it was going to happen. And then eventually, it got to a point where you guys had sort of said, "Look, the venue's not going to be ready," and then it ended up moving. Maybe I'm making that up, but I remember being.
I don't know.
Or maybe we just committed in our head we're going to use the space and it wasn't done. Or something
It
like
could have
that.
been actually that nothing was ever announced that it was going to be there. So, but I don't know. It could have been a hot since.
Yeah,
I
I just
hope we
remember
didn't lead
booking.
you on.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
remember. I just remember like booking things in my head, being like, "We want to use that space" because it was there for 3 years and we knew
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
And then it was just like wasn't ready. So
Yeah,
we
I
had
mean,
to like figure something
we
else
were
out.
literally building it, just me, Ash, our two business partners, Adam and Josh, and like our friends who are Sparkies, Chippies, plumbers, etc. And we did it on an absolute shoestring budget. The reason why it took so long, not only because council like kept pushing it back, but was because we were doing it with absolutely no money and doing it ourselves. So literally, we would spend weeks and weeks and weeks, denailing old timbers so we could reuse those timbers to build structures, or ripping up floorboards. There was a huge warehouse across the road that was getting knocked down, and we got in contact with the owner to say, hey, like, can we take your windows? Can we take your, electrical wiring? Can we take your floorboards and
that.
shit? And we
I actually didn't know that.
yeah, so we spent an entire year in this warehouse every single weekend, like for days and days at a time, and we would just rip out these huge windows. So every single window you see in the timber yard, in the warehouse, in the office area, is all recycled, and
Cool.
it would take us pretty much one day to take out one window at a time. You'd have to rip out the concrete, keep it all, and we'd use our forklift and drive pretty much a forklift across Plummer Street all the way with one window at a time. Probably took us like 6 months to get just those windows in the warehouse. And then everything else was like completely recycled. Denailing timber so we didn't have to buy brand new timber and
All the switchboards, cabling,
what's-
mains, power. We literally
Everything
pulled out
was
from across
recycled.
the road and
Yeah.
it brought it across the road and reinstalled it.
But what's so funny is that is what gives that space personality. Yeah, like so from my perspective going there because it looks amazing. I just thought you guys did it on purpose. So I didn't know you were like pulling it together like a giant Lego
No,
piece that
it
turned
was-
into this.
It was done because
beautiful-
we had no cash to do it. And we're like, how do we do this in the cheapest way possible? And we're like, we just have to do everything
Boris
ourselves.
Hill.
So literally our mates who are Sparkies were like, I'll come in, I'll run all power throughout the site. Like literally dug trenches, ran power throughout the site. Our mates, like one of my best mates who's a plumber, is like, I'll just do your toilets for you, okay? You just pay for materials, we'll do everything else. We had mates who are chippies, and my younger brother who's a Sparky. Literally everybody just chipped in, and everyone was so invested in this like huge project, right? People were like really excited about it, and we just had friends from all over just coming during the week, during the weekend, just to help out, labor, hands, whatever it was. And it was just this like really fun project that we all could work on. And meanwhile, like, me, Ash, and Josh and Adam are thinking like, shit, we better be able to pull this off,
Yeah,
because
and
like
you did
we're investing a
pull it
lot
off.
of time and money.
But there were so many times where we were in so deep.
Yeah.
Couldn't
And
back
we were
out.
actually,
Yeah.
we were pot committed.
Full pot
there were
committed.
times where we wish we could turn back and be like, what have we done? With all the delays and potentially not even getting the permit and already spending so much money on the site, there was just so many different days where we were just down in the dumps, had to pick ourselves up. And thank God for the four of us coming together, because like, it's so much easier when you spread the load of responsibility and stress across four
The stress
people.
is the big part.
And you've got each other to help each other get over those hard days. But yeah, ended up turning out to be a successful venture.
Yeah,
And like,
opened in 2019 with like the first event being that AFL Christmas party.
Yeah, wow.
Absolute nightmare. Literally the worst event we've ever done. It was on a day that...
At least you're honest.
Mate, no. You don't need to be subjective, to be honest. This was a proper shit show. There was literally 3 months worth of rain in 30 minutes that day. And our entire roof, because we hadn't redone the roof at that point, it was just a rusted out roof. Our entire roof caved in. We had 450 people seated lunch for AFL. And our entire roof, the big box gutter that runs down the guts of the warehouse roof, completely caved in. And we're talking like an entire waterfall just pouring onto all the guests. And at that point, thank God the AFL are a great client, and they just want to have fun. They were just drinking. We're like, let's just open up the bar, crank the music. We built this like umbrella, got like 4 umbrellas, put it over the DJ booth, just crank the tunes, and just
people were literally swimming.
literally swimming, like
Swimming. There was that much water in there. It was out of control.
And funnily enough, like they're actually one of our really good clients. They come back year on year, every single year, and we actually gave them like a little a photo frame of their first event where there's like someone on a blow up donut, don't know where the blow up donut came, skidding across the warehouse floor. And
so good.
yeah, and they were like, yeah, we were like, thanks for being such good clients. Like, thanks for trusting us and coming back, time and time again. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
It's an interesting thing. I'm actually gonna have to wrap it up now. This has been awesome. I need to have you guys back because I feel like we just touched the surface. But it's an interesting thing because that story you tell where you were too far in and you couldn't back out. Every person that I speak to that works in that industry, from a club owner to a festival owner, same story. Like you get so far in your vision that you cannot walk backwards because it's either you're gonna lose more money going backwards than forwards. And the second part of it is, again, we're so lucky with music and events, and people do love it, and they love this industry. I guess that's why I'm getting so many eyes on this platform, but is people that come and chop you out. Like without my friends and family coming to chop me out with free labor, free electricity, free plumbing, free labor, like everything I've ever done would never work. Yeah, like even currently now I'm running my festival, Hello Sunshine, which we did 10,000 the year just gone. But legitimately, take away the free labor and all the free stuff that my friends chopped out in, we lose money. Yeah. So we need those people and that support from others who love and see our passion and our vision, I guess. Otherwise, we can't get through it. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for coming down and giving me an hour of your time today. It's been an absolute fucking awesome conversation. And I can't wait to get this one out. So lastly, I have to thank my sponsors. So believe it or not, it's a bit of a personal one because I'm the owner, so I sponsor myself. But you guys are supporters down at Timbia with WP
I think
Shots.
we were one of the
first
first.
clients,
We
yeah.
were one of the first.
So WP Shots is my sponsor. Can't shout them out enough. So a gift from me to you guys. We've got these new cans, but I want to give you a brand new bottle of our Tropical Smash, which is our newest
Oh,
flavour.
I don't think we got that at Timberyard
It's
yet.
not for sale for venues yet, but maybe we'll give it to you guys.
Send
for
it
some
over,
amazing this
mate.
time.
That means you're driving home. I'm drinking that.
So thank you again, guys. I appreciate it, and hopefully you enjoy your gift.
Mate, thank
Appreciate
you
it.
so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.